What is up, guys? Welcome to the Dynasty Dudes podcast. Today we are talking about some breaking news. Aaron Rodgers is currently in the middle of a darkness retreat.
Dude. What even is that, man?
Dude, it's how he's going to make his decision, man. He goes and does ayahuasca, then he goes and does darkness retreats.
So, my understanding, he's just in a dark house? Like, there's no light bulbs? Like, there's still windows?
You know, yeah, I think, I don't know exactly. I don't think that it's like a thing where it's like dark even during the day. I think he's still like in the light during the day.
Yeah, I
don't know.
Like, otherwise it just sounds like he's in like an isolation cell in prison, right? Like, it's just pitch black and they feed him through a hole in the wall. I don't know, man.
Yeah, he lives down here in Malibu. I don't know if he's flying somewhere. Like Pat McAfee said Alaska, and he said no, it's not Alaska. So I don't know. Maybe it's like around here. You know, like it seems like a California thing. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today.
Oh, dude,
that is not it. We just had to bring that up. Today's actually it's been a pretty slow news week, and I think it makes sense with the Super Bowl coming up. Just a lot of speculation, like we're hearing, but really nothing news-wise that to actually go off of. And so we are going to discuss the very, very, very exciting and elite core of wide receivers who are free agents this offseason. And if you don't know who the free agent wide receivers are this offseason, you may not know that I'm being totally sarcastic. This is a group of absolute nuts. Like, all these guys could be on the same team together and you wouldn't be, like, scared. It's a pretty brutal group. So, Rob, do you have a list
I'm looking at it.
Of who they are? You want to read them off for us?
All right.
Just this Pro Bowl superstar, future Canton inductees.
Yeah. Well, we'll start at the top. Juju Smith-Schuster, Jacoby Myers, Darius Slayton, DJ Shark, Alan Lazard, Paris Campbell, Mecole Hardman, Nelson Aguilar, Mac Hollins, Jarvis Landry, Greg Dortch, Odell Beckham.
You're not in the heat, Rob.
But, if you have all these guys on your roster, you will not make the playoffs for the next 2 years.
Dude, yeah, you could pretty easily be safe with having none of these guys. They're really not really like they're, you know, at best you got wide receiver 2. Jeez, like the only one who's even a 2 is. I mean,
Odell
huge.
Could come out hot. He could come do
like
something.
The rest,
he's old and
that's true.
He has half a knee.
That's true. Yeah. Well, let's talk about Juju for a minute.
We're going to be not synced again. I'm already watching it lag on your end. We got to restart this and figure something out. You remember how last time we recorded on Wednesday and it was shot?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I should have, dang. So, it was the same with the quarterback episode, but then I just downloaded it.
Okay, so we'll just cut this bit out.
Fine.
Cool. My bad, bro.
Yeah.
I'm just watching. Yeah.
So we're going to jump back in here. We were talking about Juju when we got cut off for a second. Yeah, Rob, Juju Smith-Schuster, any thoughts on him? What do you think he goes? What do you think his value is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty common knowledge. I like Juju a lot in the offseason. Right. I think he's a good player. I think he's got the hands. I think he's got the route running. It's just easy to forget he's got a knee and a half, I think. I think that's a good evaluation. So he can't really bear the load of more than a wide receiver 2. I mean, he has to get his knee drained regularly. It's just all bad. So I don't know. A team that needs a wide receiver 2, maybe the Giants, they need a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I have pulled up real quick what Pro Football Focus has of wide receiver needy teams, and they've got the Falcons, the Ravens, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Packers, the Chiefs, and the Titans. I think one name that sticks out to me the most is probably the Giants. Like, they literally have nobody. Like, do not have a wide receiver.
I'm shocked that Pats aren't on that list.
Yeah, that is kind of shocking, actually. Patriots definitely need wide receiver help.
Yeah, I think their lead guy's Jacoby, right?
Right, he's on that list of free agents. They do have Devontae Parker. He's just another year older, and then they got Tyquan Thornton, who was a rookie this last year. I don't know, showed some stuff. So obviously not a very big passing offense. I don't think they're ever going to be one. But I would add the Patriots to that list for sure.
Yeah, but we were talking about Juju. So
Juju,
I don't know, man. I don't know a good landing spot for him, but I think he's going to have to be a wide receiver too wherever he goes, which I'm fine with. I mean, in PPR situations, that could still be an average of 6 or 7 catches a game and 80 yards. Like, that's still productive, but yeah, and he's got to sign a big contract. I mean, he's getting old. He's 26. He's going to want 3 years, probably $15 million a year. I don't know who's going to be desperate enough to pay somebody with a persistent injury that much money.
Yeah, I think we've made this comparison before, but I think of Christian Kirk a little bit last offseason with the Jaguars. Now, obviously, there wasn't the injury concern as far as I know, but I think the similarity is there just aren't that many wide receivers available. Yeah. And some team is just going to have to overpay for him that's desperate at wide receiver and give him that. And by the way, $15 million a year is not so great. Hunter Renfrow makes $14 million a year, so it's not. It's not out here he's not asking for elite money, but I think he will get his bag. I think some team does pay for it. I do not think it'll be the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's not necessarily the worst thing for Juju.
No,
he can
as long as Kelsey's in. As long as Kelsey's in KC, the target share is very limited at the wide receiver position. I mean, this year it was pretty regular. From, if I'm remembering correct, I think the Chiefs had a wide receiver go for almost 100 yards every game, like in that 85 to 100 range. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't really the same guy 2 weeks in a row, and that is so hard to bet on.
Yeah, no, it is pretty difficult. I think what's going on with Mahomes' contract starting to kick in, it's going to be one of those situations where he gets one nice thing, he gets one shiny toy, and until Kelsey's legs fall off, it's him. He's the shiny toy, and anything else is just going to be secondary. I don't know what they do. It's going to be interesting. I actually, full disclosure, I sold my Tony stock here recently, but it'd still be interesting to see what Kadarius Toney is able to look like. Because he's kind of, I guess, the best wide receiver they have under contract next year, him and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS. And so,
I mean, hamstring not persisting. That's.
Well, I do wonder, too, not to get into Toney, but it does impact, whether or not the Chiefs go out and try to sign somebody or trying to figure something out, is if, during an actual offseason, because obviously Toney was traded for in the middle of the season, if they try to adjust the way he plays and say, hey, stop this, because he really does make these ridiculous cuts, and every time he does them, you're like, oof.
It looks incredible, but my hamstring hurts watching it. And I'm sitting.
Yeah, and every 5 of those cuts, he hurts himself, and it's so I do wonder if maybe they say, hey, let's knock this off.
Don't play like every play is the last play of the Super Bowl.
Right. And you appreciate that out of a guy, but you maybe they want a little more longevity. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Chiefs do. I assume they're going to be in the wide receiver market in the draft. Obviously, they don't have great draft picks. Being that they're in the Super Bowl, so maybe they'll try to go out and buy one of these guys. Maybe they we're about to talk about Alan Lazard here in a minute. They did that same thing with MVS. Maybe go and reunite those guys. And, get us
that's a dream team right there. That's Drop City.
It's really awesome. For me though, Juju, I think Juju goes and gets a healthy back. I think he does sign some sort of I think he actually gets 4 years, maybe with some outs, but somewhere around 4 years, $50 million. And again, somewhere that's right around that $15 million range. Maybe a little bit less, but I think it'll be somewhere that's desperate, that needs something at wide receiver. But we'll kind of see how that lands.
So with that prediction, 4-year, $50 million, desperate team. Yeah. What would you predict as far as I guess not predict, what would you value him at? If you were to trade for or trade away Juju, what are you willing to give?
Man, that's so tough. I probably would prefer every single one of kind of the upper tier rookies coming out of this draft, almost certainly.
Oh, there's no way you're getting a first for him.
Right. I was even thinking what about the 112? That was kind of where I was starting.
Okay.
That's sort of where my head was at. But even I think a mid second. I think is probably right where I'd go. Like I said, I do think there's a decent shot that he is a wide receiver one somewhere, even despite the knee. I'd be willing to definitely take a shot at him if I thought I'd have any chance of trading with the manager if he wasn't stingy.
Yeah, our commissioner definitely. Well, I guess the Juju manager in particular, he's a little bit on the stingy side. He definitely doesn't like to sell things low.
He's kind of a my guy. So.
Yeah, he's a bit of a miser when it comes to trades. He's looking for every ounce of value he can get.
I think Juju's a good buy though if you're able to find somebody willing to trade a mid second or some sort of level. I'm trying to think of a guy who maybe I would want to move off of, who might be in a slightly similar-ish situation.
Who you could flip for Juju 1-to-1. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you just traded him away, but Kadarius Toney's not a bad comp.
Yeah. I think the Toney thing, the problem with trading Toney is you're talking about, and I experienced this when I just recently traded Toney for, it was Christian Kirk and a second. And I think the issue with Toney and his value.
Congratulations, by the way. I thought that was an incredible trade. I felt like you should feel like you won that.
Yeah, I think Christian Kirk is definitely buying high. Not only are they going to have Ridley this year, they're probably going to. Geez,
you want to check your car, dog?
No, it wasn't me. No. I'm at home. I live in the city, man. I think the problem with Christian Kirk, just to get into him a little bit, he I didn't think he actually passed the eye test for the most part. He's a slot receiver. He didn't really gain any separation. He was just the best guy.
You're just thinking of the one drop in the playoffs. That's what killed him.
No, I'm not even talking. Not even the drop. He just doesn't really create separation. In that play, he did. He just didn't catch the ball.
Dude, it's like his hands are out and it hits him in the hands, and he just, that was so bad.
No, but even beyond that, you have Calvin Ridley coming back. Obviously, that's a huge question mark. But a lot of these mock drafts have the Jags taking a wide receiver in the first round, and I think they will. So maybe a good trade, but I think the situation's only going to get worse. We even potentially have a Hunter Renfrow situation going on from this year.
Yeah, so I mean that's real. I don't see a world where Kirk finishes out of the top 30, which I think, keep him in wide receiver 2-ish range.
He was. He was the 11th this year, though. So
he was, and that's a high finish. But if he finishes at the 21, 22, right? Let's say he finishes there. That's a good finish, and then you got a second out of it. And what's the best Kadarius Toney's finished? Played 10 games in a season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I also had, for me, the reason I went ahead and pressed go on the deal was I have the Trevor Lawrence stack, and so that was a big deal for me.
Hey, gotta love the stacks, man.
Hey, stacks are valuable. We'll talk about it on a different show, like how valuable stacks are and kind of how we sort of
maybe even a stacks ranking. Ooh,
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd definitely be fun. We'll make that happen for sure. Anyway, back to Juju to try and stay on task. I see him going to one of these teams that, again, looking at it, the Titans make some sense. Man, the Ravens, they make sense. Yeah, we'll see. Some team willing to pay him. Even the Packers, just for some veteran presence.
Yeah,
that would be kind of an interesting spot. I think that would only be again, not to. I hate even bringing this guy's name up. If Jordan Love is the starter, I think that makes more. They'll have some money to work with to pay a wide receiver. Because if Aaron's the starter, that I don't think.
I don't think
they'll have the money.
Yeah. Looking at this list, next guy I feel like talking about, Odell Beckham. What the heck is he going to do? Like, does he play again?
I think so.
He's got to, right? Like, he's not washed. He looked good until he tore his ACL. But where? Like, who's going to pay Odell, whose name alone is going to cost you $10 million a year? Yeah,
I mean, you're obviously going to get him for 2 years at the most, like 2-year deal at the most. So you don't have to him. You don't have to give him that 4-year deal. In fact, you probably go a 1-year deal with how old he is at this point. Dude, I tell you what, this one for me feels like Kansas City.
Really? You think KC?
That's what it feels like to me. It's sort of what they did with Juju this year in a sense, like finding these duct tape fixes, like, oh, who can we get at a discount to make our wide receiver one? It's like, oh, yeah, Juju's coming off knee surgery, and say you got a 32-year-old Odell Beckham Jr. Like, I bet we can turn him into a wide receiver one for a season.
A team that I could see paying him for 1 year. Maybe the Chargers, if they ship Keenan Allen and they restructure their stuff a little bit, they spend a little money on 1 year of Odell.
Yeah. I think underrated thing, though, about Odell, I don't think he goes to a team that plays on turf.
Why do you say that? Because he hates turf?
Yeah, I mean, like, that was a huge thing for him. He tore his ACL in the Super Bowl, obviously, and that was here at SoFi Stadium.
That's right.
And I think that I actually don't think he will go to a team that plays on turf. So, I think Kansas City makes sense in that. Again, that's a stupid thing. Maybe he doesn't care but because he's had multiple knee injuries in his career.
Yeah,
he might say, "Hey, I'm only playing on grass, or I'm only playing on a home team that plays on grass." So that's something to look out for. Obviously, there's still that Cowboys connection that he was supposed to go to the Cowboys. That was the shtick.
Yeah,
never materialized. They still need a wide receiver.
They do. They need a wide receiver too. And looking at my list, Dalton Schultz is actually also a free agent. So, I mean, I don't know if they're going to re-sign him. Do they let him go and spend that money on a wide receiver? I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a few tight ends in the draft too. Maybe they can address tight end.
Yeah.
For cheap, and then spend that money on a wide receiver potentially. But again, there's not that many wide receivers to spend.
No.
So it would have to be
draft
like
them.
Odell kind of player. Who's another guy we want to talk about?
Oh, I mean, it's just such an engaging list. Jarvis Landry, relevant or not?
No, shut up. No, irrelevant.
What draft pick would you trade
if you own Jarvis Landry, cut him.
Maybe somebody else will waste a 4th-round pick on him in the draft. I mean,
cut him. Cut. Boo, Jarvis Landry.
I mean, I was looking at his. Let's see if I still have it up on my phone. He used to be good. Like, he's had some really good finishes. 8, 14, 6, 18, 12, and then it just disappears. 13,
dude,
54.
He was Baker's dump-off guy. This is who. Yeah. Baker loved him so much that he kicked Odell out of town.
Yeah. So, I
It's
mean,
brutal.
what pick would you trade for Jarvis? Like,
Dude, I'm not trading for Jarvis Landry. Like, the
so
only
you
way
wouldn't
I'm
trade a
trading
fifth
for
round pick
Jarvis...
for Jarvis Landry?
No, so I wouldn't do it because that's stupid. By the way, I just traded Gus Edwards for a fourth. Like, I got Gus Edwards.
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
fourth.
I thought that was great. I feel like you lost nothing. And if Gus Edwards matters, you can clown on the guy that gave you Gus.
Well, the reasons I did it because I have Dobbins, so it's just a handicap.
I know.
But generally, I don't do trades like that. Like, the only way I'd put trade for Jarvis Landry is if it was a throw on on some other trade to add on. He's great for that. If you want somebody, especially like, hey, if you're in talks, the Derek Carr, I don't know who's going to be the quarterback in New Orleans.
Dude.
I don't know. That's the one thing too with those like minor and some people value it, some people don't. Those kind of wide receiver threes. If you can, trade one of those to like the owner of the quarterback, that sometimes can boost it a little bit. It's like, oh, you own Josh Allen. Do you want Khalil Shakir? And it was like, yeah, sure. I mean, there's a chance that's a relevant stack at some point. But we don't even know. Again, Jarvis Landry's a free agent. Plus, we don't even know who the Saints quarterback is. So not relevant.
We got plenty of time to theorize that one.
Jarvis Landry sucks. How about Jacoby Myers? I want to talk about because I just kind of want to talk about the Patriots wide receiver room.
I don't. I think the Patriots wide receiver room. I don't know, man. I mean, what was their record this year? Were they positive?
I think they might have been 9-8. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were right there, 8-9, 9-8.
That's where I don't know. A team that runs the ball and goes 9-8. I mean, that's just. I feel like that's where wide receivers die. Like they run too much, they don't win enough.
So I do think, like Freddie Kitchens was their offensive coordinator last year. Like that, it sounds to me that they're gonna make a change at OC, and so it might be the case that the Patriots wide receiver room is actually sort of a buy low opportunity.
Maybe, depending on who's there.
Right. I mean, you have Tyquan Thornton, who was he a second round pick?
No.
You probably have. I can look that up real quick. Okay. Anyway,
What?
We got all the T. Higgins stuff. Let me take a look at. I want to pull up that free agent wide receiver pool. The other guy that's kind of interesting is McCole Hardman. He's there.
He had some really shiny moments this year.
Yeah, he sure did.
Mostly out of the backfield, but
yeah, he was kind of a funky one for sure. Someone will pay him some money. He's a speedster. He's kind of a fun wide receiver. Oh my gosh, the sleeper app just needed to update. Of all things,
Mecole Hardman. I think he stays in KC. He won't be very expensive. He hasn't been healthy enough to produce anything crazy. He seems like a good, stable guy that Mahomes can trust. And we saw some, I think, glimpses of Deebo Samuel type utilization this year. And I wonder if they sign him to a medium 3-year contract, 4-year contract, and try and lean on him heavy and, get him to play more of that role.
Yeah, it's definitely not impossible.
From a fantasy perspective, though, I don't want to trade for him. I mean, he could continue to be meh.
Yeah, he's not. Looks like he's not going to play in the Super Bowl, which is kind of interesting. He's only 24.
Yeah,
which is
because of his groin.
Yeah, which is too bad. They really probably could use him.
But yeah, he had a hot stretch: 12, 28, and 21. Those are all his finishes.
Yeah. So he's someone to look for.
Yeah.
Okay, so one last thing before we get out of here on this, what may be a super cut up and bizarre episode. It's definitely not the most exciting, but
bear with us. We're having technical difficulties. It happens.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. One guy you would. Let's do a keep trade cut. One guy you would trade for, one guy you would keep, one guy you would cut.
Just out of all three, so I'm just picking my top
No,
three.
no, no.
basically.
Sorry. Out of all the free agents, and I guess we should change that up. How about a buy or sell kind of situation? Choose one guy to buy, choose one guy to sell.
Yeah, out of
this.
all the free agents.
Yeah, kind of based on their value.
Ooh. I might sell Paris Campbell. He might be a decent sell. I mean,
What's he worth?
I think the one that you could sell for the most out of this group is probably Juju. But I might be biased because I'm a Juju true.
I mean, he's definitely the best receiver on the list, but you might want to hold him. But if there's a guy, I think the one guy for me that excites me a little bit is Odell. If there was any possibility
he's my buy, but that's because you can get him cheap. Like, I'm not giving a second up for 1 year of Odell production.
No,
but if I can bundle him in, if I can get him like lumped into a big trade and like, oh yeah, just throwing Odell and now it's even. Like, yeah, but with the way trades go in our league, there's no shot you're getting Odell for anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know. I think Luke owns Odell. I don't even know.
Then you might get him cheap.
Yeah. It's. I think he's a fun buy. Let's see. I mean, Jacoby Myers too. I think just with the weakness of the market, I think he's an interesting buy.
One we haven't talked about at all. DJ Shark. He had glimpses of greatness on the Jags, and then his season ended. And then he went to the Lions and has done nothing, I think. But he could be a guy that, like, a team like the Giants pay for, and then he's their wide receiver one because no one else on that roster is relevant. He might be a good buy now.
I have to be completely honest. I know almost zero about DJ Chark, other than he was hanging out while Jameson Williams was not playing. So,
he had a couple good weeks. He missed a lot of time this year. But he might be a good one. Looking at him, I mean, he had some really solid weeks. And then last year, I think he started out hot. He had like 2 good games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last year he started out acceptable. But DJ Shark might be a guy that you can go turn a third or a fourth round pick into like a moonshot.
Yeah, no, that's a decent pick. Man, I tell you what, I'm looking at trying to find guys to sell, and the problem with all these guys is pretty much every dude on this list is a hold for me because it's like they're so you just aren't going to get anything for them. They're all dudes to they're all throw-ins. That's all they are.
The story might change after they all find landing spots, right? Like they might. Yeah. This might be a way more exciting conversation at some point. I just don't think it will be. Like, these are boring wide receivers. If you are desperate at wide receiver and you were hoping to go buy a free agent, with the upside of them landing in a good spot, don't. Just go trade for a bundle of second-round picks and have that be your wide receiver moonshot.
Yeah, I think the 3 guys on this list for me that do have the opportunity to maybe go somewhere and be top 15 guys are Juju, Jacoby, and Odell. Other than that, and top 15 maybe pushing it. Maybe we talk about top 20. I think Juju could finish top 15, depending on where he lands. Maybe even Myers, too. Odell, you might be asking a lot for an older guy, but I think those guys are kind of interesting. The rest of these guys, just hold and see. And again, if someone really wants them for some reason, I'd be more than quick to add on Alan Lazard to any trade. If it
do a quick Google search. Make sure you didn't miss something like all the other wide receivers got raptured or something. But otherwise, I don't know.
If you're into premillennialism and you think that's possible, that's...
save it for other podcasts, all right?
Theology dudes.
Yeah, I'm busy that
Eschatology dudes. Greg Dortch. Greg Dortch is a guy that's not in our league.
I know. He's like Dingman's number one example of why we need waivers.
So we don't have waivers in our league. It is the only time you can get players is through the draft. So the rookie draft has little exceptions. There's like a handful of relevant dudes who are on that waiver list, and one of them is Greg Dortch. He wasn't drafted in the startup draft, and now he just exists. It mostly is relevant with backup quarterbacks when they happen, when they come into play. Like who obviously Purdy's not in the league. That's
no.
Yeah.
I mean, Trey Lance's first backup was Jimmy G, but
yeah, of course he was. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, sometimes Thursday, Bailey Zappi was in the league. Yeah,
who was Mac Hollins?
Mac Hollins, the wide receiver in Vegas. He's had random. He was kind of the wide receiver too, because man, Hunter Renfrow. He's a bounce back candidate, by the way. Hunter Renfrow,
big by low.
Just a terrible year. It's just not only did he get hurt, he just anything that could go wrong for that guy went wrong for poor Hunter.
Well, and if he's getting targets from Aaron Rodgers, that's right. Awesome.
Yeah, DraftKings did say that the Raiders are now the favorite, over the Packers to be the landing spot of.
Yeah, I think they have been. I think that's been the line for a little bit.
Yeah, I think the tick moved slightly in that direction this weekend. Because the Raiders fans at when he won that stupid golf tournament.
They're just constantly hassling him. Yeah.
What a guy. Anyway, we wish Aaron nothing but the best in darkness. Unfortunately, because he's in darkness, he's not watching the show right now.
Yeah, he's a regular guest on our show.
He's that'll do it for our show, guys. If you stick to the end, God bless you. But, yeah. Hey, real quick, last thing. If I sent you a trade for Juju, Jacoby Myers, Odell, and Alan Lazard, would you give me the 110?
Am I giving you the 110?
Yeah, if I was offering you all those dudes, is it worth the 110?
I think it depends on my bench. If I have a bench like Carson's, then yes.
Carson does not.
I think he forgot we didn't have waivers because he just kept dropping players and trading them. It's great.
For those of you who are not in the league, one of our league mates, Carson, who was on this podcast last week, has almost no players on his bench. And so he's in a dire need. So I could see why that would happen. I would not accept that trade. I don't think. It's just that. Maybe I would. I like Juju.
Yeah, so I would. My brain was like, if I get Juju, Odell, what do I value them at, plus all the garbage?
And Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is garbage. How Lazard kind of is garbage.
Yeah. I think you have to accept that trade, but you are understanding that it's not going to turn out great. Yeah.
That's how it be. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. We will see you right before Super Bowl Sunday, and then after that, hopefully we'll have actual news.
Something. Just anything that isn't quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's how it be. See you guys.